be 2:15, and then we can go ahead with the actual talk. Calissa and Kennedy, it's all yours. And their talk is A Day in the Life Perspectives of Students. And if you have any questions for Kennedy and Calissa, you can type it in the chat and they will get to it at the end of their talk and respond. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Rihanna. So hi, everyone. Nice to see everyone here today or just virtually. My name is Calissa. As Rihanna mentioned, I'm a second-year genetic counseling student. But before this, I graduated from McMaster University in the biochemistry co-op program.
Awesome. Same as Calissa, excited to speak to you all today. My name is Kennedy. I'm also a second-year genetic counseling student. I did my undergrad at St. FX University in Nova Scotia, and then my master's at the University of Ottawa, and have made my way to U of T. So I'll be leading us off here today in a day in the life of a genetic counseling student. So these are the 12 lovely students in our program currently, 6 second years and 6 first years, with our program director, Stacy, who's on the right of the photo. We have the class of 2025, which includes Calissa and I and 4 of our classmates, and one of them who you'll hear from a little bit later in this presentation, and then the class of 2026 there on the right, in front of Sick Kids, where we do most of our training. So what do our schedules look like? We'll get started with a broader look at the schedule and then go to a more day-to-day. So this is a schedule for fall of first year in the program. In the mornings, you'll have observation and clinical experiences, which are called practice-based learning modules. And each week looks a little bit different because you're meeting with providers and families or patients from different clinics. So this would include patients and practitioners from the cystic fibrosis clinic, the spina bifida clinic. Each week you get to speak with them, and it's a great opportunity to learn about lived experience with genetic conditions, as well as introduce you to the different clinics around. So that's in the morning, that's in purple. In the afternoons is typically classes, which are in orange. In this first fall semester of first year, there's 7 classes total, and they range from principles of effective counseling to lab genetic counseling skills. And yeah, they really sort of cover a breadth of knowledge in that first year. And many of the classes have moved into that new Sick Kids space, which you can see a little bit there on the left. And on Thursdays, we have our academic day. So this is typically attending rounds, doing case conferences and journal club, which kind of go through all throughout the day, as well as some classes there. So now that we've covered the fall, the winter schedule in first year looks a little bit different. So this is when we start clinical rotations, which happen 3 times a week. So that's in those purple blocks there. So as opposed to the PBL modules, we're doing clinical rotations, and this changes throughout the semester. So you'll do rotations in prenatal, cancer, lab, and then either metabolics or ocular or cardiac genetics. So you sort of get that initial lay of the land. And then throughout the semester, and throughout each rotation, you begin taking on more in the clinic. And you continue with some of the classes. Lab genetic, or the laboratory skills, only takes place in the first semester. So that's what the winter schedule looks like. In second year, we have less classes and more clinical rotations. So the classes are now in purple, so same set or similar setup where the classes are in the afternoon and we have clinical rotations 3 half days a week. So that's when you're in clinic. Clinics include pediatrics, adult genetics, prenatal genetic counseling, and cancer genetic counseling. We also have elective rotations in second year, which is unique to second year, and those can take place in a wide variety of settings. We've had people do research, industry, private or public clinical options, and different clinical options available for the rotation. And yeah, we have 4 classes to start, which include cancer genetic counseling, issues in genetic counseling, concepts, and then that principles of effective counseling again. And in the second semester, there's no cancer genetic counseling, so sort of reducing that course load as well. And then with this sort of broad look, what does the day-to-day of a genetic counseling student look like? Every day is different. I think that's the message to take away, that really we're so lucky to do such a wide variety of things, and it's really exciting. So typically, if you're in clinic is starting around 8:30 or 9 a.m. And this could be in person or virtual depending on the clinic. And you might see a couple patients that day. So maybe first one at 9:30, second one at 10:30. But this looks different based on the clinic. And then in the afternoon, you might get a little lunch break. And this is what the kitchens look like at the Sick Kids building where all our classes and everything take place. So have some lunch, see some of your classmates, probably. Head to class and get some work done for around 1 p.m. is typically when our classes start. So this is the work setup that we currently have and one of the residents there. So there's usually lots of people working at these desks and get some chatting done as well. And then typically from 2 to 5 p.m. we're in classes. So any of those ones that I touched on previously, and this is what a typical classroom would look like, I'd say. And we get to hear from some really great lecturers from all around Toronto. And lectures can be virtual or in person, but typically in person. And that's really sort of day typically ending at 5 p.m. is what that day-to-day looks like.
Okay, now switching over to our research project. What does our research project look like? So each genetic counseling student takes on a 2-year research project that begins at the start of the program. And the first year and the first semester is really dedicated to generating and developing a research idea based on our individual interests. And we work closely with faculty and a research mentor to really refine these ideas. Once a topic is selected, we focus on designing the research and drafting the protocol. At the beginning of the summer, we submit a Research Ethics Board or REB application and make any revisions or amendments necessary to ensure that the project is ready to start in second year. Once we come back from the summer, in second year, that's when we begin collecting and analyzing our data. And the final product of this research will be summarized in a manuscript and presented to the faculty. The goal here really is to highlight the work that we've done and accomplished over the past 2 years. Here you'll see a list of current second year research projects, and I'll leave it here for you to skim. Some of these ideas were generated by us, so because of ideas that we were interested in, and some of them were presented to us by genetics faculty at U of T who are really interested in some of these topics and wanted a genetic counseling student to take it on. You can appreciate that in this list, there is a variety of research topics, and a mix of us are doing either interviews or conducting surveys with different populations and demographics, including high school students, patients, or genetic counselors. In terms of other things the U of T program itself specifically offers, this includes supplementary activities. So, for example, we have educational events that happen weekly or monthly, depending on the event. We have SickKids genetic grand rounds, which are bi-weekly, so every other week, we get a genetics related presentation given by an international expert in their respective field. And being affiliated with SickKids and U of T, we really are fortunate to learn from researchers, like novel research related to our studies every single week. This also includes SickKids genometabolic rounds, which are case conferences. And those typically happen once a week with genetic counselors, geneticists, medical residents, and fellows to share and learn from interesting patients that we've seen at SickKids or other hospitals. We also have journal club and walk rounds with genetic counseling students only. These are once per week where we present, one student presents on a journal article that they find interesting, and another student presents on an interesting clinical case that they've seen. Some weeks we also do walk rounds, which is a group visit to the hospital to see babies with different genetic conditions. We also have PanCan with the all the Canadian programs. And so each program will present once on interesting cases that they've seen, and together we have a group discussion about those cases. And then genetic counseling conferences. In second year, you get to choose between the NSGC or the CAGC conference. And here to the right is a photo of us at NSGC this year. In terms of our summer rotations, we do a 6-week rotation, and we're really encouraged to go outside of downtown Toronto for these. This past summer, our second years, so myself and Kennedy, we went to different parts of Ontario, including Mississauga, Markham, London, and Ottawa, and some went further away to Halifax and Vancouver. So I went to Ottawa for CHEO, and Kennedy went to Halifax. Students will usually choose their location based on personal preference, depending on where they want to travel, where home is, or maybe where they want to work in the future. And so we have a lot of flexibility in choosing that as well. Here's just a bunch of photos of second years at NSGC this year. So this trip took place in New Orleans, and this trip was reimbursed to a certain amount as well by the program. Next year, our first years get to choose between going to NSGC in Seattle or CAGC in Calgary. And now lastly, with many master's programs, having to balance so many aspects of our day can admittedly be challenging. But really what's appreciated by myself and my fellow classmates is truly the volume of support that we have from different members of our community. This includes monthly meetings with a psychologist where we discuss in groups our experiences with the program and the workload, and it helps us learn from each other and validate that the challenges we're experiencing are common and universal. We also have quarterly meetings with some amazing U of T alumni who, having graduated from the program, can really understand our experiences in more depth. And they share information with us about their experiences and also answer questions about topics like the job search process or board exams. In addition to that, we also have mentorship pairings or like a buddy system between a first year and a second year. And I personally found, at least in my first year, that it was helpful to have a direct contact to the second year or have them check in with me routinely, as it made me feel supported throughout the year. And it definitely makes us feel more connected between the years as well. And finally, we have our program leadership team, and they truly have an open door policy. I know I've done this where I message them or I drop in to meet with them and talk about anything that is going on in the program just to get their thoughts, and I feel really supported whenever I do get to go and talk to them. And so, as you can see, overall, there is a number of valuable supports available to us, and it does play a huge role in helping us take care of our well-being and succeed academically throughout the program. And so this is our final slide saying that if you want to learn more, you can contact the email here, which maybe some of you already have, for the genetic counseling program. And you're also welcome to reach out to Kennedy or I. We're happy to take any questions or chat about anything you'd like to learn about for the U of T program and maybe admission